Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are doing a little weekend reading vlog for the 1000 Doors readathon. It's a readathon that I took part in last November and I had a really great time. They announced a few weeks ago that they are going to be doing like a mini version of the readathon over the weekend, and the idea of this readathon is that it's a bit like choose your own adventure. So the hosts each upload a prompt video. You choose which one you want to do, you then read the book. You choose which one you want to do, you read the book, and then whatever you thought of that book will determine what your next prompt is. And then whatever you thought of that book will lead you to your next prompt. And then whatever you thought of that book will lead you to your next. And then whatever you thought of that prompt will lead you to your next prompt. They announced this readathon after I put together my August TBR. So I'm hoping that at least one of the books that I had on that list will be a good fit for one of the prompts. I've also created a stack of the shorter books I own on my TBR and made lists of audiobooks and graphic novels to read, because on Friday I am working most of the day and then on Saturday afternoon I'm really busy, got a lot of stuff to do. So being able to read a shortish audiobook and a graphic novel would be absolutely perfect. There's going to be a total of 3 prompts, so 3 books in 3 days. So we need to be smart about picking short books or books that are just like easy to read quickly. But I remember last time that the prompts were very broad, so fingers crossed that we will be successful. I will check back in with you on Friday to share with you my reaction to the first prompt and let you know what I'm going to be reading. So it is now Friday, it is the first day of the 1000 Doors readathon, so I'm now going to go ahead and watch the first prompt videos from the hosts and try and decide what I'm going to be reading first.
You ready for your first prompt from me? You don't have to choose this one, you can choose any of the other ones, but like... Okay, so your first prompt is...
let me ask the audience.
My first prompt for you guys is the Måneskin's live performance at the Eurovision 2021 final of their song Zite Abuoni.
So for this first prompt, we're going to play a little mini game of Articulate. We're not actually going to play, but we are going to roll the dice and move around the board and figure out what our first prompt is going to be that way. Okay, I landed on nature, so the first prompt is going to be owl. The word owl.
Okay, so I decided to go with Emma's prompt, which was the word owl. Kind of my thought process was, so an owl is an animal, so I'm going to read Animal Farm by George Orwell. This is a bit of a left field choice for me because I don't read classics an awful lot. Like, I literally can't remember the last time I read one. But this is an incredibly short classic. It's like under 100 pages or just about. So I think this is a very good read for readathon, and it's one I've been curious to read for quite a while. I don't know the full plot of this. Obviously I'm going to read the synopsis first of all. I believe that it's like a metaphor or an allegory for something. We'll see. I do have a day of work now, so I will either start this during like my lunch break or in the evening. So I've literally just finished Animal Farm by George Orwell and I really liked it actually. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm kind of surprised actually at how much I liked it. I think it had like, you know, a lot to say. I don't know if it's, like I mentioned before, I don't know if it is necessarily like a metaphor for anything, but the blurb on the back says it's a satire on the corrupting influence of power. I would say that it is quite satirical, and I think I will be doing a bit more like further research into it, see if there's any like crash course videos about this book, so I can find out a bit more about like the history and the meanings behind everything. I don't know if I need to explain what the synopsis of Animal Farm is, but basically it's about this farm, Manor Farm, that is run by this man called Mr. Jones, and then one day the animals of Manor Farm decide to have a rebellion against the humans, and the rebellion is under the leadership of the pigs Napoleon and Snowball, and the animals end up taking over the farm, and you know, they set out all these commandments of how they're going to separate themselves from humans, and you know, they have all these promises of how much better life is going to be when they're not being ruled by humans, but it ends up not being like that. And honestly, like at the beginning of the book I was on the animal side because I'm a vegetarian. I'm not like a activist vegetarian, I'm not like preachy or whatever, but like right at the beginning they talk about how like, man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk, he does not lay eggs, he is too weak to pull the plough, he cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits, yet he is the lord of all the animals. Our labour tills the soil, our dung fertilises it, and yet there is not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. That kind of thing, I was like, you know, the animals have some point, but obviously everything goes kind of wrong. So yeah, it's Saturday evening now. I've had quite a busy day. I had counselling and I got my second COVID vaccine, so I'm kind of impressed with myself that I managed to read this. So I will try to start my second book tonight, but first of all we need to find out what my next book is going to be and find out what the next prompt is. So I'm going to go back to Emma's first prompt video. I'm going to click on the 4 to 5 star video.
So I'm going to randomly select one of these cards and that is going to make up our next prompt. So this is the one. Here you go. So I'll let you have a look at it and I'll also try and describe it for anyone who is visually impaired at all. So this is a picture of, let me have a closer look myself. This is a picture of a tree with a very subtle face you can see on the trunk. It is smiling. It also has an anchor tattoo sort of on its shoulder is what it looks like. One of the branches looks like an arm and that's where the anchor tattoo is. Tucked underneath that arm is a bouquet of really pretty flowers. Behind the tree we see blue sky, green grass, and in front of the tree we see a cobbled path.
Okay, I've had a think. A book that got released this month and that was on my radar and I think would be quite perfect for this prompt is a graphic novel called Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms. It's a queer teen romance graphic novel and it's available on Kindle, so I think that's the book I'm gonna go for. I'm going for romance especially because Emma said that to her that picture of the tree with the flowers was quite romantic. You know, giving flowers to somebody is quite a romantic gesture, so I'm kind of going down that train of thought, and seeing as this graphic novel is a romance, that's the book I am going to go with. And you know, it's a graphic novel, it's under 200 pages, so I will be able to read it very quickly. So yeah, I'm going to purchase the book first and then I'll get ahead and read it. It is Sunday morning. I just washed my hair, so apologies if it still looks a bit damp. And this morning I just finished reading Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms by Crystal Frazier. I didn't do a halfway point check-in because the graphic novel was only 129 pages, so there wasn't much point in me doing a halfway through check-in. But I did really like it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. In this graphic novel we have 2 main characters. We have Annie, who's an antisocial lesbian who is encouraged to join the cheerleading team in order to kind of boost her college application. And also on the cheerleading team is a friend of hers called BB. Annie and BB, they used to speak all the time, but they haven't spoken in quite a few months, and BB recently came out as trans and she's kind of in the process of transitioning and what it's like to be the only trans girl at school. So now BB and Annie are on the same cheerleading team, their friendship gets rekindled and it leads to something more. And in general it was just like a really sweet graphic novel. I really liked the art style and I really liked a lot of the things it had to say about how BB, she kind of got tokenized and used as a mascot for the cheerleading team because they were using her as a way to say like, oh look how great we are for accepting this trans girl onto the team. It's one of those things where they were well-meaning but it just came off like the wrong way. And the reason I gave this 4 stars instead of 4.5 was mainly just because of the pacing. It was a little bit too fast-paced for me. I wish there was like a little bit more like exposition, I guess. And there were certain things that got mentioned kind of once and then never brought up again. I already went ahead and found out the next prompt. So at the end of Emma's prompt 2 video, she asked if you thought the ending was satisfying, which I did, which led me to Meg's prompt.
So your prompt is...
I've connected the 2 dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
Obviously, like, I'm connecting the dots. The place my brain first goes to is like a thriller, but I don't own like any short thrillers at all. I kind of want to read this book in one day, or mostly in one day, so I can complete the readathon in the allotted time. And I was initially going to go for Luster by Raven Lalani because I thought this was a thriller for some reason, but it's instead just a literary fiction. So instead I'm going to go for a non-fiction book. It's like a memoir manifesto. It's I'm Not Your Baby Mother by Candice Brathwaite. I've owned this book for about a year now and it's one I have actually been really eager to read, but I don't read a lot of non-fiction, so that's why it's kind of been pushed back a bit. And this one might be a bit of a reach for the prompt, but to me like non-fiction is kind of about like connecting the dots, especially for like a memoir manifesto type of book. You're connecting the dots in like people's lives I guess. But this book is about the author's experience of being a black British mother, and it says on the synopsis, until I wrote this book I desperately craved to have a space where I could discuss my motherhood journey openly and honestly. I wanted a space to talk about the fact that black women in the UK are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than their white counterpart. I desired the space to talk about how, when I thought about names for my children, I was mindful of those that could perhaps be defined as ghetto. I deserved the space to speak about how the minute I found out I was pregnant with my son, my partner and I felt we had to leave London. It's a pretty short book, it's just over 200 pages and the font size is pretty big, so I feel like I could read this all today. I do have quite a few things to do, that I'm thinking of going ahead and buying the audiobook. I don't have Audible, so I think I'm probably just going to buy it outright on iBooks, even though it's quite expensive, but we'll see how it goes. So it's Monday morning now. I managed to get halfway through I Am Not Your Baby Mother last night. So I didn't finish it on the last day of readathon, but that's okay. I'll still continue to vlog until I finish it to let you know my final thoughts and everything. But currently halfway through, it's good so far. Candice has so far talked about like her experiences growing up in a single parent household and how those experiences and having to care for her younger siblings kind of affected her thoughts on becoming a mother and her hesitancies and worries about having children, and then when she is actually pregnant and getting ready to have the baby, the difficulties and barriers she faces as a black woman. So yeah, I'm going to try and finish this either today or tomorrow at the very latest, and then I will give you my final thoughts on the book. Hey, so it's Wednesday evening. I literally just finished I'm Not Your Baby Mother by Candice Brathwaite. Finished it a day later than I wanted to, but my head's been all over the place, so just finished it. Now I'm going to give it 4 stars. I really liked it. It's a book I definitely recommend people read if you want to get an insight into what it's like to be a black British mother. I don't necessarily want to say it like it's an important book because it's a bit cliche, and I don't know if it's like the most helpful adjective to use to describe books that are like this. But the second half of the book, it talks about raising her children and how as soon as she knew she was going to have a son, she decided to move out of London due to like knife crime, and her building her platform on her Instagram and her blog to make motherhood more diverse so other people and herself could see themselves more in motherhood within the UK. I also think this is a really good book for like the type of person who thinks that racism doesn't exist in the UK or isn't as bad. So yeah, that was my last book for the 1000 Doors readathon. Pretty successful readathon. I gave every book 4 stars, so you know, very successful. And yeah, who knows, maybe if I'm struggling with what to read, I'll go through the prompts again as a more fun and creative way to decide what I'm going to read. If you took part in the 1000 Doors readathon, the weekend edition, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know how you got on, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, feel free to subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!